Alright, welcome to this class on network security. And so this particular class, mostly we will be discussing what the rest of the lectures are going to be about. Right? The class website is indicated here. And let me see if I can find a pointer. And this is going to be quite a bit of work every time going to the computer and coming to the screen. All right, so the website is right there, and all the lectures are always put there the night before. So if you would have gone last night, you would have found the lectures today that you are getting the handout of. And in fact, generally we also put the next lecture. So even the lecture after this is there. So we just try to keep ahead one lecture. And after the class, we record all this class, and sometimes that is not guaranteed, but basically after a few weeks, the audio and the video get in there too. So what we in this lecture we'll talk about 5 things. What are the goals of this course? How we are going to grade? What are the prerequisites? And what are we going to cover and when? And then the project. So first of all, internet security is a hot topic. Hot topic in networking in particular. If you are doing anything in networking today and you go to anybody, whether they are students, they are faculty members, or whether they are president of the United States, one thing they're worried about the internet is what? Security. And in particular, when President Obama became the president and he had his BlackBerry removed from him, you know why? Security. And so, that is one of the things that, there's a lot of funding from the NSF, from the government and everybody else, research funding in security, because that's the hot topic. And it's a topic that can never be solved. Why? Because the more you solve, the more new problems come in. So this is a war between the hackers and basically the management, let me say it that way, right? So this continues, and it's a good thing. Okay, so now we are all affected by security. For example, internet when originally designed had no authentication. So on the internet, you could say that I am a router, and everybody will believe you, right? Because there is no authentication. You don't have to prove that you are a router. So somebody in the Pakistan actually said that I have the shortest path to YouTube. And then guess what happened to the YouTube traffic? All the traffic from the United States to YouTube, it started going to Pakistan, basically not getting anywhere. Right? So it's so easy to do these things. And then phishing, you are all affected by that. You get an email, say please come to this website, you click on that, you go to the website, it looks like authentic website, but it is not. And I give lectures on security, and I'm very careful about phishing. But let me admit, once in a while I have gotten basically prey to these guys. Once they asked me to change my password on the email account, and I did. Finally later finding out that it was really not the website, our department website was somewhere else. So you have to be very, very careful, right? You have all gotten to that one. Spam is another way of security issues where you get mail that you are not supposed to be, you're not interested in, or you are not supposed to be getting, and so that takes a lot of time for you to filter out. So that is basically something called unavailability. So time is just wasted, right? And so that is another problem with security. And now security has become the main method by which the countries will have wars, right? Cyber warfare. So let's talk about spam and warfare a little bit more detail. Spam, 78% of all emails sent is spam. Actually, that is an average, because for me it is more like 98%. So if I get about 300 or 400 email messages a day, 8 or 10, 20, 30 are for me, and the rest of them are spam. All right? And the reason is my email address is everywhere. You just put Google and you will find it, and it's on a website and every other place. And so basically it's very easy to get spammed. 81% of this spam is trying to sell you drugs, trying to make you more manly, more womanly, and whatnot. Everything else that you ever want is there in these drugs, right? Cost of businesses, and it not only costs you at the time, but you are working for a company, and so therefore your time is spent there, filtering out all this spam, and so that costs a lot of money to people just not being able to work. So in 2003, the government put in a new act called Can Spam, and that means that if anybody is caught spamming, they will be sent to jail, but it's very easy to avoid that. Okay, and nowadays, recent thing is I have started getting a spam on my cell phone, and that's another something that was saved so far. Every text message that I got on the cell phone previously was from my friends. Now I'm getting from all these places, and I don't even know what to do with these guys. Every time you say stop to them, so they said if you want to stop it, just say stop. They know it is verified cell phone number. That's a very good cell phone number. And then you will get more spam. And I've tried it on faxes. I get a fax and it says please call this number to remove your number from this, and you call that number, and then next day you get 10 others from some different phone number. They have a different phone number, exactly the same message, now different phone number to call. You call that number and you get another one. So they never stop. And so this is a problem. Now the thing is, you can never find out who sent it. So when you get a message, for example, from me, you really don't know that message came from me. Again, that authentication issue. But in more than authentication issue, the issue is that anybody can say that I am President of the United States. All you have to go into Outlook and write down your name, President of the United States. All right, your email address, president@whitehouse.gov, right, and send it out. It will go. Now, most likely it will go because what the companies are trying to do is, the companies that provide the email services such like AT&T or Bushtel, they are trying to start checking these things. But you can still get to many places. You go to some Wi-Fi place and you can try it out, sending a message to yourself, and you will find it gets through. So I have gotten messages from God, from heavens.com. You can put whatever you want, right? So that's the thing. Now, final thing is that these messages are coming not from the original person that is sending it, but they're coming through infected computers. So they might infect my computer, for example, and they might just send out to all my friends an email message which is coming from me, saying that please buy this particular drug. And it has happened. Basically, often sometimes my computer has gotten infected, and then I get an email from IT saying that your computer is sending out thousands of messages. What's happening? And so it has happened. I am very careful, but still, they have gotten through sometimes. So anyway, if you want to need more about it, then there is this website, actually not a website, a Wikipedia page, where you can find more about email spam. But more importantly, and more recently, one of the things that is making network security more interesting is the cyber warfare. And so more of the future wars, actually some of the wars that have been fought so far have also, people have said that this was a cyber attack, but it is very difficult to verify that. But more and more countries are getting ready, including United States, China, India, you name the country, they have a cyber department whose sole job is to somehow infect, attack other countries or defend their own country, both. Believe it or not. Recently, if you read books on cyber warfare, they tell you that recently when they destroyed some nuclear reactor in Iran or some other country, the way they did it by infecting the devices that control the nuclear reactor, and then something. There's a lot of stories about this, and then so they could not do whatever they need to do for protection. All right. So everything is now computer, whether it is a atomic reactor, whether it is a gun, everything is a computer, and everything is interconnected. Right? Since everything is interconnected, everything is reachable to the enemies and to yourself. Right? And so the cyber warfare. So in 2009, US set up a cyber command. UK, China, Russia, Israel, North Korea have similar centers, and they are targeting telecommunications, transportations, and power grid. Think about this. If our telecommunication is interrupted, then we will be in big trouble, right? And Pentagon spent more than $100 million in the first half of 2009 in repairing damages from cyber attacks. Now, these may not have come from other countries, but these have come from other hackers at least. And you can read more about that again in Wikipedia. And by the way, please interrupt me in the middle of whenever I'm saying, raise your hand, and if you have a question, comment, addition, subtraction, whatever it is, and we can talk about more about that. So, website security. If you maintain a website, and most businesses have do, so here is the statistics, which is the latest I could find, 2010, and you get at least one attack per day on the average. If you are a famous website, you get a lot more. If you are a government website, you get a lot more. Right? Because people take pride in saying that, oh, I attacked Apple, or I attacked, US security, whatever word the security comes out, NSA. Right? So the thing is, but this statistics shows, and this is actually very narrow statistics in the sense that this is from a company that manages security for the websites, and so this is basically based upon the sites that they manage themselves. So they felt that the highest number of attacks were on the retail websites where people are trying to buy and sell things, or actually not people, they're trying to sell things. Next on the line are these banks and other financial institutions, right? Which I would have thought maybe much more than retail, but people do get away with buying things when they're not allowed to. I mean, it has happened to me again personally. My PayPal account was hacked. And so it happens quite often when they somehow get hold of your password, and then they can start transferring money here and there. All right. So what is the goal of this course? So this course is a comprehensive course on network security. So network security is a big topic, by the way, and it is not possible to do it in one course. In most universities, I mean, they have a whole big set of people, dozens of people, whole actually center for network security, and they offer dozens of courses. However, in this university, basically because the number of students and all that, we offer only one course, so this is the course. And in this course, we try to cover as much as we can. And so that makes it a little bit broader, because otherwise I could offer a course on cryptography, another course on firewalls, another course on something else. But here we don't have that luxury, so we cover everything in one course. And that covers both theory and practice. So theory part is well covered in the books. The practice part is not taught in the books. Practice part is that the hackers learn themselves. Okay? And in this course, we try to cover that as well. So there is some hacking to be done, and but that is not in the textbook. All right, but we will get along. We will do it slowly and teach you how to do that little bit, and then you can take it on your own. So we will talk about cryptography, and cryptography is not the whole security thing. Cryptography is simply how to encrypt, and that is not the whole story. Okay. We talk about hashes, key exchanges. Key exchange issue is that of if we have a secret key, how do we give it to you? right? That's a selfish security problem. Email security. So if I want to send you a secure email, how do we give it to you? How will we send it to you? And we will do that actually again as an exercise as well as a theory part. Web security. All of you have used HTTPS, right? When you talk to a bank, it starts with HTTPS. What is that S for? Practice. So we will talk about practice, hacking and anti-hacker techniques. So unless you do hacking, you cannot really protect yourself. So to protect yourself, you have to know what the other guys are doing, right? So we teach you that as well. The textbook covers only the theory part. So textbook does not talk about the hacking part. So we just try to do that on our own. Now having said all this, this is a graduate course. How many undergrads are here? Plenty, okay. Okay. So you are taking a little bit, basically, you are competing with all these other guys, okay? And you guys, I know you are on the top of your class, so that's good. Because that's the only reason you are taking graduate course, right? But being a graduate course, I also want everybody to do something new, okay? Something that is not in the book. And that is the project, survey paper. All right, every graduate course that I teach here, and some of you I see faces have taken 567, some have taken 574, there is a paper or a project. So as a part of that, as a part of this course as well, you have to do that. So you have to write something that will go on my website. I will describe more later on. And so that has to be something new that the rest of the world will want to know. And since this is a graduate course, it is not that you just follow book chapter by chapter, line by line. We expect that you will do a lot more than just the book. All right. Prerequisite. CSE571-11-00 Introduction to Computer Networking is a prerequisite because I don't teach networking in this class. I expect that you know all about TCP, you know all about IP, web, HTTP, all of this start in 473. That's the class I'm going to teach right after this lecture in the next class. So 473 is where we teach networking. And I hope that you have taken that. If you have not taken networking, it will be a tough class to follow because you are learning security, encryption, and then you're applying to networking where you don't even know what IP address is. So I'm expecting that you have done 473 or equivalent. Of course, you may not have done exactly that course, but you go through the course website, see what we teach there, and see if you know most of it. Okay? So what is it that we need? We want you to know what is ISO OSI reference model. Right? Anybody who has taken any networking course, that is the first thing we teach. ISO OSI reference model. If you don't know what that is, you're going to be in trouble. Okay? TCP IP protocol stack. So what runs on the top of what? Does TCP run on IP or IP runs on TCP? Right? Where do the applications belong? Which layer are they in? Full duplex versus half duplex. So Ethernet comes in two versions, full duplex versus half duplex. Now some of you may not know that, and that's okay, it's just there so that because we teach that. UTP versus satellite link versus wireless. So there are three kinds of links. UTP is what? Anybody knows what is UTP? Anybody has used UTP? Yeah. So this thing is UTP. You use it every day. Ethernet wire. Satellite link you don't use that much, but that is another possibility. Wireless Wi-Fi you use all the time. Cyclic redundancy check, CRC, right? CRC polynomial, Ethernet, MAC addresses, bridging and routing, and 11 LAN. What is 11? 82.11. Anybody knows that? Nobody knows what is 82.11? Wi-Fi. That's the Wi-Fi, right? Wi-Fi standard is called 802.11. IP address. Subnets. Private versus public addresses. Address resolution protocol, ICMP, IPv6 addresses, Dijkstra's algorithm, TCP, UDP, and so on and so forth. So all of this is started in 473, and all of this can be used actually for security attacks. Okay? So that's why it is important to know what are these things are. Checksum, hypertext transfer protocol. Anyway, so there we are. I mean, if I'm surprised that some people didn't know UTP. So where did you take networking course? I mean, was it here? I mean, I have taught every networking course here. I mean, I don't think there was another instructor here. So how come people have not? I don't know what UTP. Maybe you took networking course somewhere else. Has anybody taken networking course here? 473 here? Okay, so do you just didn't remember UTP or what happened? Huh? You remember? Okay, all right, yeah. So, I mean, because that is the first lecture. Today I'm going to give the first lecture in which there is UTP. I mean, so, anyway, and there is all these other things. Anyway, any questions about the prerequisites? All right, the textbook. So the textbook is this book. (2011) 5th edition. So don't get the 4th edition, don't get the used book, because 2011 there are very few used books around. So this was kind of a pain point for me. I have taught network security many times, but using another book. And to change to this book requires that I prepare all my lectures fresh. So this year all the lectures will be fresh. And that's why it took so long for me to announce the book. Some of you wanted the book last month and before last month and so on and so forth. I could have just put the old book. But the security technology is moving so fast that I didn't feel that it was appropriate for me to use a book, which we used last time was 2003 book, 8-year-old book. A lot has happened in 8 years. All right, and every book I picked up was not up to date, because it takes 2-3 years to write a book. Right? So even though this book is 2011, it does not have some of the topics that I really want to cover, which are more recent. Right? But we will do our best. So this is the best available so far, and that's why we are using this book. And the book has a website for instructors and has a website for students, and it has an errata sheet which you can download from there, so you know where the mistakes are that the author is already aware of. All right. The book is unfortunately not available on our bookstore, so you have to order online, because it was just decided. Basically, I was struggling with deciding between this and the old book up until last week, and there were lots of things happening in the department, including who will teach 473 and how many courses, so on and so forth. But anyway, I have taken the challenge. Then I'm teaching 2 courses and I'm teaching using the latest book. It's going to be tough. All right. So it is recommended that you read the relevant chapter of the book before coming to the class. Now, since we are following the book, and we are basically following the book, one book, so we can, if you have read it, it will be much easier. And we will cover only the key concepts in the class, and there is a lot more in the book. Again, being a graduate course, I can take that liberty. I take less liberty in the undergraduate courses. In the undergraduate courses, we follow section by section, line by line. But in the graduate courses, we can take that liberty where we understand that you are advanced students. Please ask questions in the next class about any concepts that are not clear to you. You can ask while I'm talking about it. You can ask about it later on. You can ask about it in the next class, that, okay, you talked about this last class, it was not clear to me. What is this RSA, why we multiply, why we divide, and so on and so forth. So please feel free to ask questions. And I encourage you to ask questions in the class, not in private. Reason is, if you dare enough to ask a question, you think that you are the only one who doesn't know. It turns out the 19 other people don't know, but they're not asking. Right? So everybody will benefit if you ask it in the class. If you ask in private, come to my office, which you are allowed to, you can come and ask me and I will tell you, but then you are the only one who knows the answer, which is not fair to the rest of the students. So I generally discourage that. And so try to ask in the class, and there is no such thing as a dumb question, because you are a student after all. If you knew all this, you won't be taking the course, you would be teaching the course. And so, feel free to ask anything. All right? Material covered in the class will include some concepts from other textbooks. Please attend. Okay, so oftentimes if you find a topic which is of interest and it is better covered in some other book, I will have it in the lecture, but it may not be in the book. So please pay attention to the class lecture. All right, talking about the schedule. So today is course introduction, and we might even, and then the rest of the days, this is how I have planned that I will be able to cover the book and more. Although this is the first time we are doing it, I am not really sure. We might be behind, we might be ahead. It all depends upon how much discussion we have in the class and how difficult the topic turns out to be when we get to the topic. And so this is the continues for the next, and so on and so forth. The key thing is that every 10th class is an exam. So we will have an exam 1 on October 3rd. That date is fixed. So regardless of whatever we have covered up to October 3rd, whether it is cryptographic hash function is covered or not, whatever is covered will be in the exam 1. All right? That date is fixed. Please put that on your calendar. Don't plan any trips on that date. And hopefully you won't fall sick on that day. But if you do, then basically the second exam is on 11/7. And you need to take one of the two exams. And so if you didn't make the first one, this is the makeup exam. If you made the first one, you can still take the second exam and make higher grade. We take the best of the two. So whether you get sick or not, you get the second chance. And I encourage everybody to take both exams actually. But so these two exams are basically we take one best of the two. All right, and again in second exam we cover these topics, whichever is covered after exam 1 all the way up to exam 2. And the exact number of topics will be dependent upon where we are on that date. But the date is fixed, November 7th. The final exam is on 12/7, and that is before the exam period. The exam period starts on something like, I think 15th or something, but I won't be here. And 7th is the day when we'll have the final exam. Okay, so write that down, and there is no makeup for the final exam. So that is even more important than the other two exams, because the other two exams actually are making up each other. This one is the final, and then I will just give the grade and get out of here. So I won't be here after that. So, all right. So as you can see in this third part, there are no chapter numbers. So this is the part which is not in the book. And so hopefully we'll get to some of these topics, and maybe even more topics. Any questions about the content? Well, the class is too quiet. Here's the thing now, maybe after hearing this, maybe you will start talking, but basically 30% is for the first two exams, 30% is for final exam, and then 5% for the class participation. The more questions you ask, the more you are participating, and the more of that 5% you get. More questions you answer. So sometimes I may ask the questions, and I see some people raising their hands and volunteering to answer the questions. The more you volunteer to answer, class participation. Presence. If I find that you are mostly absent from the class, coming in very late every day, and so on and so forth, that cuts down on that participation. Okay? So those are the things. Asking questions, answering questions, and presence. Okay? That count towards the class participation. And there is no exact metric to measure those points. So those are basically something that, if I notice that, you are generally not answering questions, or, you're not prepared for the class, or you didn't come to the class. So, that is where somewhat, I can say, is basically subjective. Everything else is objective. 15% is for the homeworks, and 20% is for the project. And I will talk more about the projects in a minute. But I really encourage you to ask questions, starting from today, starting from right now. Okay? If something is not clear, good time to ask. Projects. So there are two kinds of projects. One is a real attack and protection exercise on the security of a system. So you can go back to the previous offering of this course, and you will see the projects done by other students, and you will find that people have done some very interesting things as part of this course. And so one person wrote a password thing. I'm just saying it from memory, because you really have to go to the website, and I have to go to the website to really get there. A password memorizer, whatever you want to call it, so that you don't have to remember every password. Then the question is, how do you save it on your computer, and how do you authenticate yourself? One person wrote a honeypot. Honeypot, actually we will teach later on, but honeypot is a website designed to attract attackers and catch them. So you might have, even businesses can have honeypot, and the government certainly has honeypots, where it looks like that you are going to NSA website, but you are really going into NSA jail. And they are tracking you. So some person designed that. One person designed a very interesting project. What he did was he designed a Wi-Fi, I don't know what to call this thing, but basically you can take this your laptop to a Wi-Fi place, let's say a coffee place, and then you can start advertising free public Wi-Fi, right? And so people, just obviously everybody has attracted to free public Wi-Fi. They connect. They don't know they're connecting to your computer, not to that Wi-Fi place, real place. And when they connect to you, you just connect them to the real Wi-Fi place, except when they go to Bank of America. When they go to Bank of America, then you note their password and everything else, and then you connect them to Bank of America, or or do something crazy, such as crash website or something. And so that was an interesting project. So there are many such projects anyway. So that is a real hands-on thing that if you like to do hands-on thing, you can do that kind of project, and we even allow 2 or more people to get into it, so that, because it does require a little bit more work than a writing project. So develop a hack tool to break the security of a system, or develop the tool to protect from the hack tool yourself. Or you can write a survey paper. A survey paper on a network security topic that I specify, and I have a list in the next slide. So you could write something on the latest issues in wireless network security, whatever issues I have, and what I think are the latest thing. So it has to be a very comprehensive survey. So you go and read the books, you read websites, you read other places. Actually, you don't get to read many books, because much of this stuff that I wanted to write about is not in the books. It's the latest thing, which happened in the last 3 years. So you read about it and write a paper. And I expect that you will spend about 5 to 6 hours a week on the project, 9 hours a week on the course, and so that is 15 hours a week. It should be on a recent development which is not in the book, and the better ones may be submitted to magazines or journals. So there have been papers that have been submitted to journals also. They're so good that they're worth publishing. The goal is to provide an insight that was not obvious before, and that it is a real problem. Now here's the thing though. Real problem means that you could do a survey on a topic that you're already working on at your work or at your PhD or in your master's project or something like that. So if you want to add a security angle to your thing and then you want to do the security part as part of this thing, is fine with me. Okay, so some people are working on sensor networks and they want to do something on sensor network security, but it has to be something that is somehow uses some concepts from the course here, so that it is not just totally random, totally out of this course, right? So that's fine. Homeworks, apply techniques learned to your systems. So basically, so many of these things you can, whatever we are learning in the class, you can apply to your system, whatever system you're working on. Some people are working on CPU design, some people are working on databases, robotics, whatever you're working on, you can take a security aspect of that. So here are some topics. I can fine tune this later on, but right now I put together topics that I thought are current and not much in the books. Cyber crime, cyber terrorism, cyber warfare, security of industrial controllers. This is a very new topic, because industrial controller is how this Iran thing was fought, was that they think that they attacked the atomic reactor or something, I forget exactly what, because the industrial controllers have processors in them. Mobile device security issues. Cell phones security is coming into picture nowadays more and more. And you know that in England, recently, cell phones were hacked by a newspaper, right? Anybody knows that story? Right, that's a big story. So how did they do it? Right? And previously in old days, when I remember this cell phone generation 1, it was very easy, because nothing was encrypted. You could hear anybody's just tuning into their radio. But now everything is encrypted, still people can hack it. Privacy and security issues in social networks. So Facebook, privacy is a security issue, right? Multimedia security, audio and video. When we transmit so when you get a video, YouTube, how can they ensure that nobody, actually YouTube is free, but if there was a paid service, how can they make sure that only paid people are getting it? Such as Dish Network or AT&T TV or something like that. Digital rights management, DRM. You have all heard about DRM. CDs you buy, they are protected with DRM. DVDs you buy, they are protected with DRM. So more about that. Latest developments in that area, right? Multicast security. So when we broadcast and when we send it to multiple people, how do we make sure that everybody has the right key? Handover keying. In the mobile world, when you go from one tower to the next tower to the next tower, and if you have encryption, then how does this security pass on from one tower to the next? Federated access. Federated access is what sometimes they call it single log-on, single sign-on, just like in Boostel we have, what is it called, key, Boostel key, right? Extensible Messaging and Presence Protocol, XMPP. This is a new protocol being developed by IETF, and I will talk about that. Actually I will not talk about it, but basically since you have taken a networking course, you know what IETF is, Internet Engineering Task Force. So you can go to their website and then find out XMPP. SASL is another one, Simple Authentication and Security Layer. This is another IETF project. Secure DNS, IETF project. DNS based authentication of named entities. Generic security. So these are all new things which are being developed in IETF. And then the bottom 4 are new things which are being developed in IEEE. So port based access control, Aero 2.1x, max security, Aero 2.1 AE, secure device identity, and biometric security systems. So these are all something I picked up from different places. These are all new things which are happening right now. All right. So the project schedule is that we will select it a month from now. Actually, more than a month. Actually, just after the first exam. So up until the first exam, I don't want you to worry about the project. Actually, not this part of the project, but we might do something else. But basically, you need to have some background before you're really able to understand the project part, right? So up to the first, so 10-10 is when you select the topic. A week later, you get the references. That means you do the literature search. A week later, you get the outline, which is simply how your paper will look like, not just the headings. And then you have 2 or 3 weeks to write the report. Then the reports will be reviewed by all of the students. So each report will get 3 reviews, 3 peer reviews as we call it. So each student will review 3 papers. So you will review 3 papers of 3 other students, right? And then you will provide the feedback back as what is good or bad about that paper. Then you go back and the reviews will come back a week later, and then you fix it and submit it a week later than that. All these papers are put on my website, and the rest of the world reads it. Believe it or not, I get lots of queries from people who are reading these papers, and many students in many parts of the world think that they can just copy the project, and they try to copy the project, and then they ask questions and things like that. But other than that, basically, a lot of people get benefit from this anyway. So the idea I wanted to put out was that this has to be something that is yours, original, in the sense that you're not copying words or paragraphs from different places and putting it together. That is copyright violation. In the United States, we take it very seriously. All right, you cannot take anybody's paragraph and put it in your paper because it is on the website. Somebody can call me and say, look, this paragraph is from my website, or from my paper, or from my whatever. And that is, so what you have to do is you have to express it in your own words. If you say the same thing in your own words, that is not a violation of copyright. Okay? You read the paper and they are saying that this is how you do it. You can say the same thing, this is how you do it, but in a different words, in your own words. So the best way to do that is you read it and you just have the top level notes about what the major outline is, and then you start writing your own. Don't cut and paste. If you cut and paste, you're in trouble. Similarly for figures. If you take somebody's figure and put it on your website, it's a copyright violation. But if you draw it your own, they are drawing a circle, you can draw a circle with different size, or make it an ellipse, or make it in a rectangle. That's your figure. Same thing. It's your figure. That has no copyright violation. But if you take their figure and make it shorter and put it on your website, that's a violation. So copyright, if anytime you use a copier, that's a violation. Right? Whether you do reduction or enlargement, that is a violation. But if you redraw it, that's not a violation. Yeah.
You're not saying though that we can't do a quote or we can cite the quote.
You can do a quote, yes. So the question was, and I was going to come to exceptions, is that yes, you can do a quote and you can say, well, President Obama said this, and you can write maybe a sentence, 2 sentences, maybe a paragraph. You cannot write 3 pages. I mean, that would be too much, right? So yes, small quotes, when properly attributed, can be done. Similarly, what happens if you have a product and you want to show a picture of a product? What do? Well, the right thing to do in that case is to get the permission from the company, Cisco, saying that we are putting your router's picture, can I have the permission? And since there is not enough time here, at least the best thing you can do is that you put generally we write it with permission. If I was going to put this in the book, obviously I need a permission. So every figure in my book that was copied from somewhere else, I need to get a permission. and every text that was copied from some other place. For example, I write a paper in IEEE, and then I write the same thing in my book. I have to get a permission from IEEE, copyright permission for my own thing. So that's the thing. You need to get a permission, and it's very easy to get. All you have to do is write to them, and they will give it to you for free. They don't charge anything. But you need to get the permission. Right? Now, the thing is, if you don't have time, then the minimum thing you need to do is to give a reference that the paper and that this picture came from this source. All right? Although I would avoid that for simple pictures, although for complicated photographs there is no choice, so you just put it there and beside the source. But real thing is to get the permission. All right? And so that's about the copyright. All right. So any question about the project? Yeah.
It says an outline due on October 24th. What if you're doing like an application that you're talking
Yeah, right. So this thing is references, and much of this actually may not apply to a hands-on project. And so you do something similar to that, whatever it is. I mean, basically you should have some idea. The reason I have all these steps is because I don't want you to sit down on 11:14 and write in the night, the whole thing. So I want to see that you have read the papers, that you have the outline. So for the project, similar things will happen is on that day you will have some idea of what your project will do. I mean, before that you don't have an idea because everything is open. So on the outline day you will have some outline of your hands-on project. Right? Some feature limitations and some features description, right? Good question. Any other question? All right, my office hours are 11 to 12, Monday and Wednesday. My office is in 523. Mart, who just walked out, is our TA. He was sitting right there. His office is in 422. Email is given here. His office hours are Friday and Sunday, 3 to 4 p.m. We made sure that he has office hours on Sunday. Poor guy has to come on the weekend, simply because most students don't look at the homework until Sunday because they are due on Mondays. Right? So basically, and obviously you can ask questions anytime you want by emails and things like that. We do have a lab which is logged, security lab, which is in room 516. It is logged, but you can access it remotely. And you can attack it, you can play with it and everything else. And the security on the system is particularly loose so that you can do your hacking. And the reason we cannot do it in the real computer lab managed by IT, because they won't let you do any hacking. They won't let you do port scanning. They won't let you do anything that we let you do in our labs. All right? So whatever you do, please don't get into trouble. Okay, don't try to do a real Bank of America or anything like that. Okay, because this course is not about doing bad things. It is just about doing good things, and you have to learn the bad things so that you can protect yourself. You understand? So don't try to do port scanning or whatever we ask you to do here in this lab. Whatever you want to do it in our lab, or you do in your home to your own computers. Okay? All right. So our lab is logged. It is remotely accessible, and we'll tell you how to access it remotely, and then you do your experiment there. So homework submission. All homeworks are due on Mondays. So I will give homeworks on Mondays and Wednesdays. Every day there is a homework. But Monday homework is not due on Wednesday. It is due on following Monday. And the Wednesday homework is due on following Monday. So that way you get, the weekend to do the homework. And I hope that you can even do it on Tuesdays, but basically any late submission. So late submissions are not allowed, but if for some reason you have very valid reason that, you were on this very important thing and sake or whatever it is, whatever reason, the late submission will have a penalty. All right, so don't expect me to get your full 10 marks. Even the homework is fully correct, I may say, well, 10% penalty, so you will get 9 even if it is fully correct. Please write CSE571 in subject field of every email you send to me, and maybe to a TA as well. because I get so many emails, as I said, 400 to 500 emails. It is very difficult for me to find the right thing, and the only way I can find the right thing is by subject line. I pay special attention to the subject lines. All my mail is filtered and filed by the subject line. If your subject line is blank, that is more of a trouble than a help to me, because it doesn't get filed. So please put CSE571 in the subject line, and then whatever you want to say. If it is a homework, put the word homework in the subject line. And if it is homework number 3, write down homework number 3, CSE571 homework number 3B. So that way it is very specific and I know what it is about. All homeworks are identified by class handout numbers. Generally the homeworks we identify by the numbers, which is always in the bottom of the handout. Right now it is 0. But the next handout will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on. So, those will be homework. And numbers, and homeworks will be identified anyway, so you will know. All homeworks should be on a separate sheet. So if I give you 2 homeworks, please don't put them on the back side of each other. Alright? Every homework, when the TS sits down, and he might just try to do all the homework number 1 first. And the homework number 2 second. He cannot do 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. It's kind of more difficult. And sometimes we have missed the homework number 2 because it was in the back of homework number 1. Right? So please have each homework separately, and you put your name so that we have the luxury, or we can separate them out and basically and do one homework at a time, and then so things like that. Okay, is that clear so far? Right? Okay. Grading. So your grade depends upon the performance of the rest of the class. So some topics are very difficult, some exams are very difficult, some exams are very easy, and we don't know until the exam is over that whether the exam was easy or difficult. Okay? So I cannot say that 90% is A grade or 80% is A grade. What we do is we take the top half of the class and they might get A grade, which means A minus, A plus, and then the bottom half of the class gets B, C, D, E, whatever, and B, that means B plus B, B minus, C plus C, C minus, D plus D, D minus. So there are all types of grades, but there is no fixed number that will specify that this is A grade. Alright? So pay attention to your ranking in the class. Every exam we will tell you where you stand, whether you are 1 in 28 or 28 in 28. And particularly people who are in the lower quartile, as we call it, the bottom 25%, we ask them to work extra hard after the first exam, and hopefully you will move up from the bottom quartile to top quartile maybe. So grade depends on the performance of the rest of the class. All exams are closed book. So we don't allow you to bring the book, but we allow you to bring a 8.5 by 11 sheet on which you can write anything you want. You can micro print it, you can print it on a printer, you can write by hand, whatever you want to do on that sheet is allowed. Exams consist of numerical as well as multiple choice questions. Most of the exams are generally numerical, most of the part of the exam, and let me put it this way. There are some questions which are multiple choice. If it is multiple choice, say for example 2 choices, true or false, then there is a negative grading on those questions, just on those questions. You get a +1 for correct answer, -1 upon n minus 1 for incorrect answer, where n is the number of choices. 3 choices, you get +1 for correct, -0.5 for each of the 2 incorrect choices. True and false, you get +1 for correct answer and -1 for incorrect answer. So you cannot just randomly click and hope that 50% will be right, which is true. Actually 50% are normally right, but you will get a 0 because 50% will be wrong. Right? Everyone, including the graduating students, are graded the same way. Actually, so I mean, like, some students come to me and say, well, this is my senior year, please give me this and that. So we don't grade differently. I don't look at any other thing. I don't look at what grade, what course you are in, undergrad and grad and so on and so forth. Yes, it is really, good that you are taking this, but basically, we grade everybody same way. Okay? So no other thing. Basically, like I said, the 20% and 5% and so on and so forth, those are all fixed. Even the class participation is subjective but very fixed. I try to see as to, among the students, I try to do my best as to who has participated more than whom and so on and so forth, and then they should not be, getting less. All right. So that brings us to the final summary slide here, which says that the goal of this course is so that you could apply for a security job. You could go to some company and say, well, I have taken security courses and I know all about firewalls, I know all about this and that. And of course there is a lot of self-reading and writing, and I hope that you work hard. Any questions so far? Okay, now next time when you come, please, people who are sitting on this side of the pole, try to be more on that side because I cannot see you. So I would like to see most people in this area, right? So if you just come this side, that will be better. Then I can see, how you're feeling, whether you're getting it or not. So that feedback is missing right now for people who are hidden from me right now. Any questions? All right. One new thing we want to try this time, and this is first time we are trying, is mCLK system. So when I ask a question, generally, only I can listen to one person, but this mCLK system allows me to listen to all 20 students. And the way it works is by cell phone. Is that I ask a question on the screen and you text the answer back. I'm coming to that in a question. Let me finish this and then I will come to you. So you text the answer back and the mCLK system knows your name, knows your answer, and then I can see as to whether you knew the answer or not. All right? So I can ask the question anytime about the previous lecture or the current lecture or whatever, basically, so that way I want to make sure that everybody is covered and not just one or two people who raise their hands, they are covered, but the rest of the people, I don't know what they're thinking, and so on and so forth. Now, before I ask the answer question, let me just finish this third line here. So the way it works is that you register first your cell phone number. So the way you register, you just say, well, I want to register for the NET, and my course is called NET, N-E-T. So you dial, you send a text message to that number 29671. That's the number. To that number, you send a text message which says your name, your first initial, and the last name. So you can say, for example, start R Jain, okay, or start Net J Smith, right? Whatever your name is, right? So that way it will know that J Smith is in this class, and that J Smith has this cell phone number which they already know from your caller ID. And then you will get a confirmation email from the company. But all this is a paid service, so we are paying for this. Right now this is a trial period, so we are not paying for this for the trial. But once it works, then we start paying for it. So confirmation text message will send to you, and then when you ask a question, so every class when you come in, then you join the session, and then when I ask a question, you just say, well, answer is for question number 1, the answer is C, ABC, right? So you just text it back and everything is logged. When I go back to my office, I can look at all the answers and figure out who is behind, who is ahead, who is consistently behind, and then work with you to bring you up to date. So that's the purpose of this. Now, if it doesn't work, obviously we won't be paying and then we won't be subscribing to it. Right now I have a 30-day trial and hopefully it will work. All right, question. Go ahead.
There's no self-reception.
There is no self-reception. Now let's see. That is one first thing. That everybody has a cell phone, and can you see how many people don't have reception? No service. So, So this room is specially designed not to use the cell phone. All right. So what we have is then a backup system. The backup system is, let's see. Backup system is web based. So you will need then a web access. And again, this is a trial. I mean, this is a trial in the sense that if it is too much of a pain that we may not do it, we will go back to the old system. But if you go back to the course website or go back to my website, http oh my god, Meru network so many times. They must be trying to, okay. Okay, so you go back to my website. And this location might change, but right now, let me see, fix here one, www. I think it is in forms.pgp. No. Do you remember where we put it?
It's form.php.
Huh?
It's form.php.
Just no S?
No, it's
But I was trying to put into some other directory.
PHP.
The directory was PHP?
No, it's not .pgp. It's
Oh, PHP.
Or you might have moved. You might have moved it to a new folder.
Yeah, I made new folder. But anyway, so this is the form which I have put together, and we are still debugging it. So Minji here helped me set it up. And the debugging it, so it has the same thing. Basically, you put the question number 1 and answer C, and obviously your name along with it, and it gets logged in there, and then we can just look at it offline later on. Okay, I think this will work. But for this to work, you need to have wireless access. All right. So I noticed that most of you don't have the computer, which is actually in some sense good, because everybody who has a computer, I'm not sure what they're doing. At least people who don't have a computer, I know that they're listening to me. But people who don't have a computer, they might be on the Facebook. Who knows? But so the idea is, we'll try it, and if it becomes too distracting, I will probably ask you to close your computer. But right now, cell phones have Wi-Fi. And my cell phone can actually connect to Wi-Fi. And your cell phones, if you have a cell phone with Wi-Fi, you can connect to Wi-Fi. Our guest, there are 3 networks here in Washington, Worcester actually. One is called guest, one is called Wi-Fi S, and one is called Wi-Fi, right? And Wi-Fi, whatever. So you can connect any of those 3 and get to the website, and you can get the answer, right? So by some method. And if it becomes too much, we will give up on that and just go by the hands up and down. That will be okay. People, particularly who are not Worcester students, you should somehow get the permission or whatever is required to be able to get onto the network. All right? And you should do that basically by talking to whoever. I don't know how you get that permission myself. I don't know. So maybe we can try that next time. Sorry, time. Okay. So we are actually running out of time. So I'm going to finish this thought here. So the last thing we want to do is give you the lab homework 1. Lab homework 1 is basically the hacking exercise, doesn't require the textbook. I know you don't have a textbook yet, so all you have to do is on your computer at home, you can do ipconfig help to learn what ipconfig does, ping help to know what ping does, ARP, NS lookup, trace RT, netstat, and route. All right? Make sure you read it very carefully. Once you have done that, then you go to the next page and find the IP address of google.com and yahoo.com. Then modify your host file to map google.com to Yahoo's IP address. Okay? Once you do that, and then you go to google.com and see what happens. Right? Some of you already know what will happen. What will happen? When you try to go to google.com, where will it take you? Yahoo.com, right? But I want you to do that and see it yourself. Find the domain name of this address. Find the phone number of the administrative contact for the boostel.edu domain. Find out who is in charge. Find the route from your computer to google.com. Find the MAC address of your computer. Print the ARP cache table. And then change your ARP cache table. And then see use. So service means, here you might have an FTP server or a print server or something like that. If you don't have it, then basically, then I don't know. Actually, every computer comes with an FTP server, I think. But FTP client for sure it comes, but I'm not sure what services does it come with. So you use some services on some other computer, and then you change the ARP cache, and then see what happens. This is very similar to Google versus Yahoo thing. But that works with the IP addresses, this works with the MAC addresses. Then print your routing table and explain the top 3 lines of the active routes. Now this is all taught in 473, that's why I'm not teaching it yet. I just want you to come up to date on that one. What is the number of packets sent with destination unreachable? So somehow some of these commands will tell you how many packets you sent which did not reach the destination. One of these commands in the back page will tell you. So you have to get that. And browse to ipaddresslocation.org and find the public information about your computer. So just put your IP address and see what world knows about your IP address. Okay? They might tell you that you are in St. Louis, that you have signed up with AT&T, that you have blah blah blah, everything that they know about you. Okay? Alright, so this is homework number 1. Next time we will cover the rest of his stuff. So I think